Hello, and welcome to this Sunday meditation at the Light Institute in the Sanctuary of Light. Of course, it's a virtual meditation, so I want to remind you that, as we always do, we divide the meditation into 3 parts, and I will do a kind of an Om thing to separate out the 3 parts. You could push the pause button so that at each part you could actually meditate for as long as you like, and then push it again and go to the second part, after which we will go into our usual knowings. Are you ready? It's so wonderful to meditate together. I can feel your energy, and I hope you can feel mine. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath into your body. Breathe out slowly. Ask your higher self, the intuitive essence of your soul, your own inner voice, to take a form for you so that your present consciousness can touch something that otherwise is untouchable. The true essence of your soul could be a light, a being, a tree, an animal, an equation, whatever form it takes. See it now or perceive it. And now ask your higher self to touch your body where you hold your own sacred, divine essence at this moment. Doesn't matter where the touch is, just imagine that somewhere in your body you're being touched, and that is a point where you hold your divine essence at this moment. And breathe in to that touch. And now draw your higher self in through that point, so that as you sit in this first part of meditation, you truly sit as your divine higher self. Om. Take a deep breath into your body. And imagine that you are magnetizing, that you are drawing a beam of white light, cosmic light, from the cosmos down through the top of your head, down into your stomach, your solar plexus. It's the seat of the emotional body. And from there, laser that white point out, stretch it out, and raise it back into the sky. And once more, draw that white light down. Feel it piercing you, quickening you. This is the art of radiance. And laser it out. As we laser it out, we are stretching our electromagnetic field, our presence, and our purpose into the world. Last time, draw the white light down and laser it out, back into the sky. And now it's just settle into that frequency of the light coming through you, quickening you, expanding out. And just let that continue, that arc. The highest energy moving through you and transmitting from you. And sit in meditation. Om. Breathe deeply into your body and ask your body what frequency of light, what color it needs from you to be strengthened, to give you that sense of safety in your body, that you and your body function as one essence, and that within your body is your true safety, is your true home, is the illumination of your consciousness. Whatever color comes to you at that moment, draw that frequency directly into your body so that you are giving your body what it needs to be strong for you, to build a base for you, to feel who you are and the power that you carry within this embodiment. So draw that color in Notice where it comes into your body. And then from that point, allow that frequency of light to flow from that point through your whole body, so that it is building this base of safety, of strength, of consciousness. And take a deep breath into your body and open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, feel that you have created this wonderful bond between you and your physical form. Bond of safety and strength that will support you now and into the future. From here we will begin our wonderful knowings, and each week people from around the world have sent in questions so that we can converse, as we always do when this room is filled with people, to discuss what is important to us and to bring about an uplifting and illumination for ourselves and for everyone else who is listening. So Allison will now bring forward the questions, and we'll see what comes from them. Allison.
Chris, we have 2 questions on the same topic, so I'm just going to read them both to you. And the first one comes from Germany, and she says, "Dear Chris, as a follow-up to your Q&A and the previous knowings, there is more and more unbelievable information coming out about coronavirus being fake and deeply related to a secret worldwide rollout of 5G and its detrimental effects on human health. All of this is very scary indeed, and I would like to hear your comments." And the second question comes from the Netherlands. "I have a question about this 5G that's going on. I don't want to be afraid or overwhelmed by 5G. Can you share with us how to deal with this frequency?"
These 2 questions are very much topics of discussion and argument and confusion and fear at this point. So let's begin with that idea of something being fake. Well, the virus is not fake, but if you mean by that it's not a natural event, then of course that is always possible. It is always possible that around the world in laboratories where wonderful scientists have been trying to discover and create a way to protect humans from viruses, that slipped out, whether it was conscious or not conscious. That brings us to the point that's very important for ourselves right now. We have always been manipulated, and not for the highest good. Whether we call that from religions or parents or governments, we have to be careful about saying the Chinese did it or somebody else did it, because that kind of labeling, of course, is not at all possibly true. But what we want to do is to use this opportunity to evolve past that programming of blame. As long as we can blame someone, then somehow we can feel comfortable in fighting it. No, the fight here is how we move to the next level to dissolve this virus. It will not last forever. We have had much more intense ones than we have right now, in terms of killing millions and millions of people. And so what we want to do is to remove ourselves from that fascination that we have. Who's to blame and who did it? What is important is that we can overcome it. We can utilize this virus as a way to strengthen our relationship with our bodies, the health of our bodies, and how we connect with each other. And we can move from feeling that we're vulnerable to manipulation. Yes, there has always been manipulation. Is that manipulation a part of the fact that For example, in certain parts of the world, they are coordinating. I know that China and the UK and US and other places are all trying to build more of this 5G energy, which is dangerous to humans at this point until we learn to deal with radiation, because it's a huge leap from the 2, 3, and 4G electromagnetic currents, radiant energies that we've had before. And so we want to put our attention onto that. How do we deal with that within ourselves? Whether it's possible that, and I think it's important to remember that all of this building of the 5G is about technology. I was very amazed to hear someone publicly say a few days ago, we must hurry and get that 5G out across the planet right now, because people who are in areas that are isolated need it to be able to communicate. No, they have 2G, 3G, they have phones, they have ways, they don't need 5G. That was a direct attempt to make it sound like it's okay. Many scientists are saying it is not okay. And there is no proof one way or another. So let us not spend our energy being afraid of what's going to happen with that. We already have seen some reports that show that it influences the ecology, it influences the environment. It certainly, if it influences a frog, it influences you. But so we want to let go of the exciting part about blame and is this some terrible plot? It could be. That's not the issue. The issue is, how will you and I use brilliant human intelligence to dissolve this away, to overcome our vulnerability to it? And the answer to that simply is that we have to quicken our frequency so that we handle radiation. There have been fears about the increased radiation for many, many years now, and they have proven to be somewhat true. We cannot trust the conversations that come out, because on one side they say this is the statistics and this is what is true, and the other side they say the opposite. No, trust yourself. If you need to go someplace, ask your body, shall I go there now? How shall I increase my resistance to radiation? One of the things that we learned at Chernobyl and that we've known before is that sea algae and freshwater algae help to protect. Using an increase in oxygen levels helps to protect. There are a number of foods and energies that help to protect. But the deepest part is to tune into your body and ask your body what it needs to quicken. I love spinning. I think we've talked about it before. Spinning is the quickest way to quicken your frequency. Drawing white light in, as we just did in meditation, and lasering it out is another way to quicken your frequency. And when you do these things, this is for you, body, as we've talked about, then it shifts you from the fear. There is a poison energy that is going on the planet to increase the fear, because it makes us like sheep, doesn't it? It makes us say, well, they say we should do it, so therefore we have to do it, whether that's true or not. The answer will always be within your own self. And we want to be wise and realize that we can understand some of the principles of how a virus functions or any negative chi functions. But we want to move into a level that says we are now responding to this. We are not cowering and waiting for it to happen to us, because the more you contract in fear, and that's what's happening in our public informational systems. This is the latest data about the virus. You don't need that data. You already know. You already know as much as you need to know about that virus. What you need to know is what you can learn about quickening your frequency, about living in a world where there has been for over 50 years an increase in radiant energies. We have to adjust to these electromagnetic fields, because they probably will do 5G Another aspect of that is if you feel powerfully and passionately about it, do something. Speak to people who are in control. There are other ways to get this speed of communication out that have to do with light rather than just this radiance energy. And so you can begin to use your voice. But the most important thing about using your voice is listening to inside yourself. Do not be afraid, but step forward, quicken your frequency, and realize that this is a passage and it's an initiation, and that initiation is not about dying from a virus. That initiation is about finding out who we are collectively, how we can lift up our humanity, the energies that we were born to bring forward to this world. So thank you. What's next?
This question comes from New Mexico. And they ask, Chris, what is your take on the coronavirus death statistics?
Oh, that does follow just what we were speaking of. I think it's very important to release yourself from the fascination that we have. I think on one level I would say it's possible that psychogenetically, which means that we have inherited from our fathers' fathers' fathers, our mothers' mothers' mothers, way back in time, that someone that is connected in your bloodline, or many that are connected to your bloodline, have experienced the Black Plague, the Spanish flu, smallpox, any of those things, and that has been passed down psychogenetically into you. So it amplifies that opening, that threshold of fear. And so when you spend your time waiting to find out how many deaths are there, this is an illusion. Nobody's giving you the information. How many people have passed on not passed on in death, but passed on through the virus, have healed themselves from the virus? Nobody's giving you that percentage. Nobody's giving you how many people didn't get it at all in the huge population of hundreds of millions of people. 7 billion people on the planet. Nobody's talking about that. They're only talking about the deaths. What happens when you listen? There have been 15,000 deaths, which might be 2%, 4%, 5%. But your focus on who died instead of who survived and who is now healthy and what is happening to respond and how do people go about their life or continue to the next octave of their life. So looking for those percentages of who's died is, again, a negative pattern that we as humans have always had. We love terror. We love to be thrilled. We love to be excited. And our excitement about violence has increased violence. Our excitement about death has increased our focus on that. And this is not useful. This is not how we get through this funnel of initiation. So I would say, I recommend that you stop listening to who's died and how many people have died. That's not a balance because nobody's talking about how many people have already gone through it. Some of them maybe in a few days, some of them in a couple of weeks. Some of them never got it at all. And where do you want to be? Do you want to be in the dying group? Do you want to be in the healing group? Or do you want to be in the I can't be touched by this group? I recommend the last one. So don't give in to that lower human energy. What if and what is happening? It will not serve your purpose to be someone who not only doesn't get the virus, but helps the world in all of the ways that you can, starting with the power of your consciousness, to radiate an energy that says, don't be afraid. We're getting through this. Each day, as it warms up, each day we will have less and less cases of it. And we will learn that if you're 6 feet or 10 feet from me, it doesn't matter if you're across the planet from me, I can communicate with you through my heart, through my consciousness, through the intention of my beingness. We are not alone. We are together in this. And let us place our attention not on who's dying, That is a poisonous energy, and I feel almost as if that's part of a manipulation. Because if you are counting who's dying today, how many people have died today, then you are vulnerable to be afraid and therefore to be manipulated. And we don't have to do that anymore. We are a future species, we humans. We have come here to support the catapultic leaps of life in this planet Gaia and in this world. Count yourself strong in the third group. What's next, Allison?
This question comes from Australia. Dearest Chris, I am very passionate about communicating with animals and being able to give healing and comfort to animals, especially rescue animals. Would you talk more about this and maybe share some ideas on how we use exercises in consciousness to heal and comfort animals?
Oh, I love that, because when we say exercises in consciousness, we simply mean that we are focusing our consciousness in a certain way. What is important to know, which I'm sure you all do, is that animals respond and recognize human emotions. They recognize what's in our voices. They recognize the smells that are coming off of us. We know that horses and dogs can smell fear. So start off by getting rid of the smell of fear in your body and put out a smell that says, you are safe with me because I love you. And so even if you're with a wild animal, we've learned that. If you have an energy that says, I'm not afraid of you, the animal will respond differently. And so let's talk about how animals perceive. Again, they perceive psychically. That's why consciousness works, and we'll chat about that in a second. But what I found, especially with dogs and cats as well, is that they respond to motion. I think all animals respond to motion. Now that motion might be the sound of your voice. And that's why I'm sure you've noticed that you do it as well. We tend to talk to our animals as if they were babies. And that high-pitched sound, they actually respond to that. Because when you talk baby talk, we always love babies, don't we? And so we're conveying an energy of love and safety in that. Touching an animal is very, very important, because dogs, for example, that live in packs, they nudge up, they cuddle with each other. Some people like to hug their dogs. I think hugging could give them the idea of being smothered, so I wouldn't recommend hugging, but cuddling with them is very, very important. We know when you're training a dog, sit, for example, you can use hand gestures very powerfully to train an animal. We know that many animals do not like being touched at the top of their head, and neither do I. And most people don't. We tend to touch children on top of their heads, but the gesture is kind of you're just a little thing down here. So animals love having their ears massaged, because when you massage their ears, there are a lot of these receptors for this hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin is one that comes with the mother's milk giving birth. And it comes in, if you rub a dog's or a cat's or anybody's ears, including your own, you will stimulate the receptors for oxytocin. And that brings about this sort of happiness and this sense of love. One of the secrets that I have found, especially when I approach an animal that doesn't know me, is to reach down and very gently, I pet them on their hearts. I pet them in their chest areas. And I have found that even a dog that's never seen me before, as soon as I start to pet their chest or touch their chest, their muscles relax and they will look up at me. Another way to communicate with an animal is to look at them and to, as we were doing the other day in our short YouTube videos, extending love, transmitting love through your eyes and smiling at them and looking at them. You will find that animals will do the same thing. They will look up at you and sort of stare at you and give you those full eyes. And another thing is that when we're looking and we want to open our eyes to say I love you, we tend to raise our eyebrows. Some studies have shown that if you raise your eyebrows when you come to look at an animal, that the raising of the eyebrows triggers in them, for some reason, a sense of safety, a sense of love. And so there are many ways that we can help a dog, a rescue dog, or animals that have been hurt to begin to trust us. And of course, one of the best ways is with food. Everyone wants to be fed. And when we're fed and someone offers us food, we feel right then that they love us. And so the giving of food is another way to bring that together. We don't know what colors some animals see. We know that some insects only see yellow. But I have observed that if I ask an animal, this is an exercise in consciousness, what color do you need from me right now to know that you can trust me? And then I'll get an impression. Interestingly enough, it's often green. Not always, but sometimes green. And green is, in our color spectrum, is the center color of health and healing and balance. And it's also a very powerful color in nature, isn't it? So they will often show me green. And then I will draw that green from the cosmos down through the top of my head into my solar plexus, again activating that emotional energy and sending out this beautiful laser beam to them, and they respond. I do that with my animals when I'm not present with them. I talk to them psychically. They can hear through the ethers. When I leave my dogs and my animals, I will say, I'm going away for a certain amount of moons, because animals really recognize moon cycles, and I will be back. You have a job. And so I give them that sense of not being afraid because I'm not there, but a sense of I have a place, I have something to do. You see, everything that lives has something to do, whether it's a plant that needs to grow, or whatever it is. It needs to have that sense of purpose. And so what I would say is, first of all, Australia, dear friend, thank you for caring about the animals and knowing that your caring is enough. All these little ideas that I just gave you are amplifications, what you already have for sure, because you're focused on them. Don't think of them in terms of, oh, you poor thing, you've suffered. Think of them as, I'm so glad you're here with me. Let's be together. And they will feel that. They don't have memory systems that say, I will hate you forever because you hurt me. But they do have points of reference, emotional points of reference, just as we humans do. So just give them new points of reference. References that say, I'm with you and you're with me, and together we can have fun. Animals need to play, just as do you and me. The more that we care for our animals, the more we will not feel alone, and the more we will feel that sense of purpose and belonging. So I hope that these conversations have been useful to you. I know they have, because they're useful to me as they come through me. And that we can care about each other, we can care about the animal kingdom, we can care about the environment, and we can extend an energy that balances the radiation that comes onto this planet to everything that we do, that we feel, and above all, the power of human consciousness. I send you my deep respect and great love.